if you lived under a rock for the last 6-7 hours or so, haha, 6-7, you would know that Nico Harrison was fired of GM of the Dallas Mavericks. And we're going to break down on today's show all of the news surrounding all of the stuff that has come out after the news broke that Harrison is no longer the general manager of this team. And so we'll hop right into it here in just a moment. But be sure to follow me on Twitter if you don't already at Jeff_Coop27. I tweeted about the firing before we put out a video, before we went live here on the channel at youtube.com/MavsTV. Give me a follow on Twitter, and maybe I'll give you a shout out here on a future show. Look, we all knew that this had to happen. We all knew that Nico Harrison had to go. We all knew. We'll start with this, though. This is news that came out shortly after his firing. A potential replacement already in mind for the Dallas Mavericks and Patrick Dumont to hire as the next GM of this team. Mark Cuban wants the Mavericks to hire Dennis Lindsey, according to sources and according to Tim MacMahon. Here's exactly what he had to say. According to sources, Cuban hopes to hire Lindsey, the former Utah vice president and general manager, who is currently the second highest ranking member of the Detroit Pistons front office. Lindsey served as a senior advisor for the Mavs during the 23-24 season, where he had input on personnel moves that helped build the finals roster around Luka Doncic. And I think this would be an extremely smart move if I was the Dallas Mavericks. Lindsey was already here once. He knows the franchise. He knows the, job that is in front of him. If he were to take this job, he knows how tall of a task it is going to be. He knows that this is going to be a really, really difficult road ahead for the next Mavericks general manager. But I think he's equipped. I think he knows how to build a roster into a contender, and he's been around the block for a long time. So I do think that this would be a smart move if Patrick Dumont went and hired Dennis Lindsey as the next general manager. But we'll have to wait and see what happens. And we will have a Nico Harrison replacements video on the channel here very soon. Subscribe, turn on notifications so you don't miss that one as soon as it comes out. The Dennis Lindsey, like I said, been around the block with the Dallas Mavericks. He was an with the NBA, excuse me. He was an assistant general manager for the Spurs from 2007 to 2012. He was the GM of the Utah Jazz for a long time, in almost 10 years. He was an advisor to the Mavericks the year they made the NBA Finals in 23-24. And now he serves as the VP of basketball operations for the Detroit Pistons. So this is someone who has experience, who knows what it takes, and could be the next GM of the Dallas Mavericks. Now, MacMahon did want to add this caveat to his report, speaking of about Patrick Dumont and everything. It is not known at this point how receptive Dumont will be to Mark Cuban's plan to potentially hire Dennis Lindsey. But they have been in frequent dialogue in recent months, a significant change after Cuban was pushed completely out of basketball ops last season and blindsided by the Doncic deal. Coach Jason Kidd received a multi-year contract extension this preseason after Dallas declined to give him permission to interview with the Knicks over the summer. And I do think that this is a significant development in the Mavericks. Cuban was completely on the outskirts of being in the inner circle of the Mavericks. He only went to home games, and that's it. The fact that him and Dumont now have a dialogue about what is best for the franchise, I absolutely view that as a good thing, man. I really do. You can say what you will about Mark Cuban. He loves the Mavericks. He wants the Mavericks to succeed, and he wants what's best for this team. And I do think that Dumont, maybe not relying on Cuban, but confiding in him is an absolutely necessary step in order to bring this franchise forward. So good on Patrick Dumont for bringing Cuban back into the fold, whatever that looks like, and good for having a relationship with him, because if Dumont did have a relationship with Cuban, the Luka Doncic trade would have never happened. So that's kind of my opinion on that thing. Let me know down in the comments, though, who do you want to be the next GM of the Dallas Mavericks? Do you want Dennis Lindsey? Do you want a guy like Bob Myers? Let me know down in the comments who you want to be the next GM of the Mavericks. And I'll tell you this, whoever it is has a hell of a task at hand of him. Just look at all of the moves that Nico Harrison made as GM of this team. There are so many moves, it doesn't even fit on this freaking picture. Shout out Bobby Marks for putting all this together, though. Look at all of the trades he made. Look at all of the picks he traded. Look at all of the picks he acquired and players he acquired. Like, we're talking tens of players, dozens of players. This is the one, though. This is the sheet that should pain you. Luka Doncic, Quentin Grimes, first round pick swap in 2030. couple of seconds traded. This is the sheet that should absolutely make you just look like, what on earth are we doing here? Still can't believe it didn't happen. But all that to say, the next general manager has a hell of a task ahead of him. And one of those tasks, and maybe the main task that this new GM will have, is figuring out what the hell to do with Anthony Davis. We'll discuss what the Mavericks might do with AD here in just a moment, but today's show is sponsored by PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every single day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Get in on all of the action this basketball season over at PrizePicks. How you play is up to you. If you want flexibility, choose FlexPlay, where you can get paid even if one of your picks misses. And if you want the biggest payouts, go for the power play. No matter your play, PrizePicks is a great way to put your takes to the test. It's the best place to win cash this basketball season. Which players are going off? Which ones are overhyped? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your takes into cash all season long on PrizePicks. I do have a football projection for you guys, week 11. Give me the more on Drake London rush receiving touchdowns, the more on Tet McMillan rush receiving touchdowns, and the more on Rashid Shaheed rushing plus receiving touchdowns. You can copy my picks or make picks of your own. Just please make sure you do it with our friends over at PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. One more time, that is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It is good to be right. What does Anthony Davis's future in Dallas look like? I really don't know what to think. I don't know if a trade is imminent. I don't know if he's going to see out the contract. I do think this is the big question surrounding the Mavericks and whatever their new GM wants to do with this roster. With Nico out the door, though, I do think it opens the door for a potential Anthony Davis trade. With Nico involved, there was no chance that AD was getting traded. Literally 0% that AD was moved. Now that Nico is out of the picture, there absolutely is a possibility that Davis could be out the door. His contract, oh boy. He got 2 years left at 54.1 this season, 58.4 the next, and then he has a player option for $62.7 million in 27-28. Basketball money is just absolutely insane. Look, AD's past his prime, still a pretty solid player in the league. Obviously not what he once was, and a lot of that has to do with the injuries. He has missed so many games, not just this season, but over the past 5 years. 46, 42, 26. Had a healthy season the year the Mavericks made the finals. Last year, missed 31. Already missed 6+ games this season. Listed as questionable tomorrow night against the Phoenix Suns, and we'll see if he actually plays in that game or not. We know that AD wanted to play on Saturday against the Wizards to try to help out his boy Nico. The Mavericks medical staff did not want him to play. Patrick Dumont was of the opinion that you needed to err on the side of caution, and AD didn't play on Saturday, nor did he play on Monday against the Bucks. So it looks like the Mavericks brass, Dumont, and the medical staff won that battle over Davis, and I would assume Nico as well. He's missed so many games this year, and Mark Stein had the report on what his future could look like in Dallas. And I don't know exactly what this means, but let's read it first. Davis's agent, Rich Paul, has established a strong relationship with Mavericks owner Patrick Dumont since February's trade. They are in regular contact. Is that a good thing? It's a good thing that there is an open line of communication. I absolutely believe that. But does that mean that AD is not getting traded because there's a relationship? Or does that make it more likely that AD is getting traded because there's a relationship? Could Rich Paul go to Patrick Dumont and be like, hey, let's trade Anthony Davis. Let's get a deal done as soon as possible? Absolutely, he could. Could he go to Dumont and be like, hey, we want to see how this season plays out and let's reassess? Absolutely could. I think all of the options are on the table when it comes to Anthony Davis, who in his 5 games this season has been pretty solid for the team, averaging almost 21 points, 10 boards a night, steal and a half, and more than a block per night as well, shooting 52% from the field. The one thing I wish Anthony Davis did was take less threes, where he's shooting just 27%. I would like him to use his body, use his physicality, and get into the paint more, where he's pretty unstoppable on the offensive end there. But look, we all know AD is a good basketball player. We all know that if he's healthy, he's a damn good basketball player. He just doesn't play enough basketball. And that is certainly something that going forward, the next GM will have to assess. Is it worth the headache? Is it worth the $54 million? Is it worth keeping him on your roster because you think this team can be a contender with AD? Or is it worth seeing what's out there, recouping some draft assets, getting off of that contract, and trying to reset for the future going forward? That is, I'm glad I'm not going to be the GM of the Mavericks because I don't want to be the one to have to make that decision. You guys let me know in the comments, though. Should the Mavs trade Anthony Davis? Type T for trade, type K for keep. Let me know down there in the comments what the Mavs should do with AD. I don't know, man. If I had to decide, I would lean trade, but I can absolutely see it either way, man. I absolutely could. That will do it for today's show, guys. I appreciate you for tuning in to Mavericks Today by Chat Sports. If you haven't already, hit that thumbs up icon. We'll have a ton of content coming out on the channel in the fallout from the Nico Harrison firing. We'll be live on the channel tomorrow for Mavericks vs. Suns, so stay tuned, subscribe, turn on your noties, and let's go Mavs.